Thank you, and great to see all of you. I so appreciate all of you joining me today. I have Mayor Mcnerney Ogle, Mayor Dwayne Ashmooks, Mayor Robinson, and Mayor Johnson. Great to be with you. Well, tomorrow we are going to mark the 1-year anniversary of the signing of the American Rescue Plan. And I will start by saying this. I've been talking to people across our state since the start of this COVID-19 pandemic. And I know as a mom and as a grandmother and as a U.S. Senator, the last couple of years have been some of the toughest I can remember in our state. If you're a parent anywhere in Washington, you've been struggling to figure out school and work and childcare and keeping everybody safe with the ground constantly shifting under you. If you're a small business owner in a big city or in a rural community, it's been a 2-year-long fight to keep your doors open with the odds stacked against you time and time again. If you're a healthcare teacher or a healthcare worker or a teacher or a bus driver or a student, I could go on, all of us. It's hard to think about a single person who has not suffered deep losses or had their lives upended in big ways. So there's no question the pandemic has taken a huge toll and continues to. But we have made a lot of progress since this time last year, and that's in part because of the American Rescue Plan, where we passed it, and now we got shots into arms. We reopened our schools safely. We got support for small businesses, over $9 billion in our state alone. We eased expenses for more than 1.3 million kids in our state, thanks to the child tax credit. And we got 240,000 more people in Washington state covered, and 2 in 5 customers on our state's health insurance marketplace were able to get healthcare coverage for less than $100 a month. This bill made a huge difference, 6.7 million jobs back into the economy since a year ago. And nonpartisan analysts estimate that 4 million of those jobs would not have been created without the American Rescue Plan. We hit 3.8% unemployment by February 2022, and it is worth noting that before the American Rescue Plan passed, the Congressional Budget Office estimate did not project that we'd hit an unemployment rate that low anytime this decade. But there is more work to do, but we have seen a stronger and much faster economic recovery because of the bill the Democrats wrote and passed, unfortunately without a single Republican vote, actually. There are so many pieces of the American Rescue Plan that are still making a big difference in our communities, funds that are getting out to our local communities. For example, when we passed the American Rescue Plan, I made sure that funding was actually set aside specifically for helping our students catch up academically after the last 2 years. And that money needs to be spent right in our state and across the country because it's going to be really important if we want to get all of our kids back on track. We also made sure that there's dedicated funding for great after school and summer learning options so students can learn and play together. And in general, as I have said often and believe very strongly, we need an economy that works for everyone, not just wealthy Americans and big corporations. And that is especially true coming out of this pandemic. And it's why one of my top priorities in Congress right now is to build on the success of this American Rescue Plan and pass legislation that is going to lower everyday costs for working people in a big way. Because one of the things we really saw is that while workers and families lost their jobs, their income, their stability, huge corporations and the very wealthiest actually did even better than before. Major corporations ended 2021 with record profits. And the top 1% of Americans got richer over the course of this pandemic, while people who were doing their own grocery shopping and pumping their own gas are finding their money doesn't go as far as it did. Not to mention issues like childcare and healthcare and prescription drug prices and education. It all adds up for families really fast. It should not be so expensive for working people to just raise a family and do the things you want to do in your country. So I'm working hard to fix that. I actually secured $40 billion for childcare in the American Rescue Plan. And while that money has made a lot of difference, we need to do more to fix the childcare industry in this country. I want to pass my childcare and pre-K proposals, which would actually save working families thousands of dollars on childcare and make that childcare easier to find. I also do really want to see an extension of the expanded child tax credit. Thanks to that tax credit, we cut child poverty in half. And if we need to reach a compromise with Republicans to extend this, I'm not going to let perfect be the enemy of the good. It's just too important. Lowering healthcare costs has been a big priority. We need to extend the tax cuts towards people's premiums from the American Rescue Plan. And I believe very strongly that this is our opportunity to lower prescription drugs actually in a big way by finally empowering Medicare to negotiate lower drug prices and taking other steps like trying to cap the cost of insulin at $35 per month, which will help so many families. And it is past time we finally deliver a landmark investment in climate action and clean energy, because we are seeing the catastrophic effects of climate change in our state. And here's the other piece that is really hitting home right now. We've got to transition to lower cost, cleaner energy so we are not reliant on costly foreign oil. That is going to lower costs in the long term and strengthen our economy. And now, as we can see, our national security. Finally, we all know how the American Rescue Plan made some serious investments in our public health response, saving lives, helping us get back to some kind of normalcy. But none of us want to live through this pandemic ever again, which is why I just introduced major bipartisan legislation to strengthen our public health preparedness so we are ready for the next pandemic or curveball that COVID-19 sends our way. And that bill is actually now headed for a committee markup next week. But the bottom line is this: the American Rescue Plan's done a lot to get Washington State back on its feet, and it continues to make a difference across our state, no question. I'm not stopping there. My priority is getting a strong bill to President Biden's desk that will lower Washington State workers and families' costs and take some of that stress off. And by the way, these policies would be paid for by asking major corporations and the wealthiest among us to pay their fair share. So here we are today reflecting on the 1-year anniversary of this historic legislation. And I want you to know I'm committed to redoubling my efforts to build on its success, to make our economy work for working people, and to continue our fight for a stronger, fairer, brighter future for our kids and generations to come. So I've invited some mayors on today to talk about what they have done with some of their American Rescue Plan dollars and what's happening in their communities. I'm delighted to have you all join with me today. Can't wait to hear your stories. I'm going to start with Mayor Mcnerney Ogle from Vancouver.
Oh, good afternoon, Senator, and thank you so very much. We do truly appreciate your work. We started using the ARPA funds to backfill our personnel costs with our firefighters and paramedic first responders who had been on the front line during the entire pandemic. And then we moved on with our small business assistance programs to build the capacity and resilience that our local employers needed, both during and now emerging from the pandemic. Things are tough. They have not recovered yet. But we turned our focus a little bit to then start using those dollars to create a generational impact on the community and address some of our historic inequities that we have found in addressing some of those pressing issues that our vulnerable neighborhoods and areas have been impacted by the pandemic. And you know what they are, Senator. You've been here in Vancouver a number of times. Fourth Plain is one of our lowest socioeconomic areas, our international district. We've committed to at least $30 million in infrastructure, housing, community safety improvements, and small business assistance in that area. And that should improve the equity for this very disadvantaged community and part of our whole world down here. Senator, you know that that's a unique area. And we've committed to a community-led project so that we are not assuming we know the solution. We're engaging the community so that they're directly involved in how those dollars will be spent. And Senator, we want to thank you for your work on that Fourth Plain Commons project. We'll continue with that. We'll get it done. And we'll be using our ARPA funds to help finish that community center for those individuals. We're so excited. But finally, we'll be rebuilding Main Street. You know, Vancouver lost about 30% of our small businesses during the pandemic. And we're committed to rebuilding that Main Street area. Those funds have been dormant for nearly 30 years. And this just prompted all of the interest in the new business investment in building and recovery resilience. And of course, Senator, we have wonderful news about the I-5 bridge funding, but that will impact Main Street in a tremendous way. So we're looking forward to leveraging our ARPA funds for an additional $8 million in funding to complete Main Street. We're going to make it happen. But Senator, we couldn't have done it without the ARPA funds in your work. So Mayor Robinson, let's turn it over and check out Bellevue.
Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me here today. Senator Murray, your commitment to the community that you serve has been unparalleled. When COVID hit, you contacted me regularly and asked for data to inform your advocacy. And as a result, you were able to direct much needed funding to the people and agencies that needed it most. The City of Bellevue received a commitment of $20.1 million in ARPA funds, receiving half last year and the remainder later this year. Of the initial $8 million that we have spent, we have allocated $7 million for rental relief to those considered very likely to be evicted due to COVID. As you know, Bellevue is one of the most expensive cities in the country to live, and we have a broad population of many different incomes. So this money will assist approximately half of the 2,000 households threatened by eviction. It will clear all of their past rent due and assist with an additional 3 months of rent going forward. But the threat of eviction still looms over another 1,000 households in our community, and many of our residents struggle with other needs, including basic human services, food security, and childcare. We have been able to allocate $500,000 toward a workforce program and resource navigator to address the many individuals who are unemployed or underemployed due to COVID. This program will upskill and train more than 2,100 of 3,000 Bellevue residents who are seeking employment. We also have allocated $500,000 towards small business rental relief by providing 43 grants that will pay back rent accumulated by small businesses as a result of the pandemic. This program has completely erased the back rent of a majority of awardees, saving Bellevue small businesses from the threat of eviction and allowing them to restart with a clean slate. Additionally, the program supported 296 jobs and helped Bellevue retain vital services for residents. We continue to watch the emerging needs of the community to ensure that funding is available to fill the gaps and to provide necessary services to our residents. Thank you again for your responsiveness and for affecting positive change for those who need it most. Mayor Ashbrook, I will now turn it over to you.
Thank you. I've asked my assistant to speak for me, Holly Davis.
Hi. The City of Tieton has always been a proud farming community. A large amount of our residents work in and around farms or apple warehouses, which means that social distancing was a very big challenge. 60% of our citizens have had a confirmed case of COVID, and we have lost some of our residents here to the illness. A large majority of our residents were scared to leave their home for any reason, including paying their utility bills. The City of Tieton tried to make our citizens feel the safest we possibly could by utilizing the American Rescue Plan funds. Our city purchased all the necessary equipment to promote social distancing, masks, and hand sanitizer for employees and the public. That way we were able to stay open for their needs. We installed two-way intercom and camera systems for people who did not want to enter the building and started taking utility payments over the phone, which we had never done before. We tried to ensure that they had the same quality of service that they have always had. One of the most interesting and useful items that we acquired was a portable Biomist sanitizing machine. It's one of the same machines that the hospitals and fire departments use to sanitize their equipment. We were able to sanitize our building several times when we had COVID scares or when somebody came in that was infected with COVID. Our police department was also able to sanitize the inside of their vehicles and police departments if they had anybody that was exposed to COVID. Our city does not have any outdoor space for our youth, which impacts their emotional and physical health, especially during a pandemic when school sports are canceled and gyms have been closed. We've been working on an outdoor safe area for our youth to access social distancing exercise equipment to keep their emotional and physical health positive. The American Journal of Medicine advised that physical activity is one of the most efficient pathways to promoting mental and physical health, and it also bolsters youth immune systems. We believe the safe outdoor space will significantly improve our youth's mental health in a time when there's a significant increase in our youth experiencing moderate to severe anxiety and depression. City of Tieton is striving to do everything in our power to help keep our citizens safe and healthy. Mayor Johnson.
Thank you very much. And Senator, thank you so much for all the work you've done with ARPA funding and also for the future funding that you're working on right now. We certainly appreciate it. What we've been able to do is work on rejuvenating downtown. That's, you heard it from Vancouver, you heard it from others. Obviously, all the businesses, the residents, everyone suffered, just like you mentioned right at the beginning. But our city council took a look at what our priorities were, and they thought, you know, this is the one thing that we can do right now is rejuvenate downtown. We worked actually on an experiment last summer where we worked with the State Department of Transportation to cut down Main Street, which is Highway 270, down to 2 lanes. We tried back-in parking. We got feedback from our residents saying, yeah, I don't think we want back-in parking. We'll try something else. But at least we had some good experiments with it. But we're also worked with consultants to work on a marketing plan for Pullman. We're working on the downtown revitalization, getting in some bike paths, working on replacing the sidewalks that have had some real problems. So all of these are generating jobs. It's just been wonderful in that respect. We're also working on a tourism marketing plan right now, and we've got a group that's helping us, and we've had some meetings with the citizens of our community, giving us input on what the best way to do and what our major items are to encourage people to visit this community. So all kinds of things to try and rejuvenate the community, and that's what the American Rescue Funding has done for this community. We really, really appreciate it. We've worked with Whitman County, and they've helped out the Community Action Center and helps in terms of rental assistance. And they've worked with, we've actually mentioned that in terms of our utility billing. When people have problems, you know, paying for the water and sewer bills, we can work with the Community Action Center because some of those funds can help them as well. So we've had a chance to work with the community. And again, it's just sort of given us a spark. It's given us some light. And that's the one thing I know you had is your original intention. Okay, we've had the pandemic. What can we do to get this place rejuvenated, get some excitement coming back again? And that's what we're doing right now. And we thank you so much for the funding. We got 9.6 totally. We got 4.8 so far. We're hoping for the next payment to come through. We do get nervous when we hear somebody talking about sweeping funds. So I just want to make sure that we're all counting on that money because a lot of these projects are not going to be done tomorrow. They're going to be done in a few years. We've got it through to 2024 to get some of these things done. So again, we really appreciate the work. The Downtown Association appreciates the work. We've got the Main Street program going now. We're hiring an executive director, again, using some of those funds. We're partnering with other people. So again, thank you so much for all the work, and we give you all the support to keep moving along on this as well. So right now, let's go back.